Hello and happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome back to another stream here on our American Family Insurance DreamBank page. My name is Hannah, and I'm a dream cuter here at the DreamBank. And today I have the honor of introducing our featured speaker, Lorenza Zebell from Sustain Dane. Sustain Dane was founded in 1999 by a group of Madison community members to create a more sustainable future for Dane County. They use the internationally recognized science-based sustainability framework called the Natural Step as their guide. Lorenza is the sustainability project manager, and she develops and manages the Accelerate Sustainability workshops, provides one-on-one assistance, and tracks their sustainable impacts. She believes taking sustainable actions, large and small, can create a more secure, fair, and prosperous future for our community and beyond. Lorenza joins us today to share some actions you can adopt into your life to help give back to our planet. If you have any questions throughout the event, leave them in the comments and we'll get to your question at the end. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our speaker this afternoon, Lorenza Zebell.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Hannah. I'm Lorenza, Program Manager, Sustain Dane. Thanks for joining me today for this presentation, Taking Action for Sustainability. I'll be going through some actions you can take at home, in your community, and then a little bit at work to help you find meaning through sustainability and to make an impact. All right, so first we'll talk about what sustainability means for us at Sustain Dane, and then we'll get into some of those actions. And this will be a primer of some things that you can start with. But if you're interested in more deep dives, I encourage you to reach out to me just at lorenza@sustaindane.org. I can help you find a Sustain Dane program that will be a good fit for you. And also part of my job is to talk you through your personal or organizational sustainability goals and connect you with the resources in the community that can help you reach those goals. So yeah, feel free to reach out. So first up, a little bit about Sustain Dane. We're an education nonprofit serving Dane County, and our mission is to inspire, connect, and support people to accelerate sustainable actions for community well-being. And we have a number of educational programs that any employee of our member organizations can attend complimentary, and most are also available to the public as well. And those programs include a quarterly breakfast series where we provide a platform for local and national leaders on various sustainability topics and other more specific training programs like our Master Recycler program, which just kicked off our second session of the year last night, but we will hold it again in the future, so keep an eye out for that. And that program, we train people to be ambassadors for recycling knowledge in our region. And you can learn all about all those programs on our website, sustaindane.org, and also sign up for our newsletter there to get some regular updates when we add things, because we also have volunteer programs, networking programs, that sort of thing. I start all my talks with this image that you see there with our definition of sustainability, because many people can think that it's just an environmental concept when it's really much more than that. You see here that it's a healthy environment which supports equity and social well-being for everyone, which in turn supports a just economy. And this is an expanded way of looking at the concept of the triple bottom line, which you might have heard of as the triple P or 3 Ps: people, planet, profit, or environment, equity, and economy. So there are lots of ways of looking at sustainability, but that's ours. And woven through many different definitions is the idea of sustaining humanity for generations to come. So we're trying to meet our needs, the needs of the present, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In other words, sustainability addresses how we do things like heat our homes, transport ourselves, feed ourselves without using up or damaging the systems on Earth that provide those resources to us. And these ideas have been around since much earlier than those definitions. The 7th-generation concept is based on an Iroquois philosophy that the decisions we make today should be informed by 3 generations into our past and result in a sustainable world 3 generations into the future. So we've seen this concept, it's been around for thousands of years. And we can also define sustainability using our own individual reasons why we care about it. So some of those reasons are personal, like having a connection to nature or wanting to protect our families and future generations. Some of those reasons are professional, because strong sustainability has been proven in the workplace to increase employee attraction and retention, increase the loyalty of your customers, and it often helps reduce spending and increase operational efficiency as well. And all of those reasons why we work in sustainability become more evident when our systems are stressed. So like in this past year, as we face the challenges of the pandemic, there was incredible evidence of the power of sustainability to keep our community resilient and keep it strong in the face of existential threats like the pandemic or like climate change. And the past year has also underlined the importance of sustainability work that centers equity and social well-being. Organizations everywhere are using this framework of sustainability to make sure our systems support everyone. So those are some of the reasons why it matters and why we do this work. And locally, we are seeing sustainability addressed in the Dane County Climate Action Plan and the City of Madison's Climate Forward Plan. The Climate Action Plan sets a goal to reduce carbon emissions in Dane County 50% by 2030 and includes over 100 policy and program solutions to get us there. And the City of Madison Climate Forward Plan includes the goal to reach 100% of the municipal operations powered by renewable energy, and a number of other goals, including getting energy efficiency into housing. And the county plan just came out this past year, and the city announced Climate Forward just a few months ago. So now is really the time for organizations in our region to start accelerating these actions and for individuals to get involved as well. So why individual action? At Sustain Dane, we believe in the ripple effect of small local actions for sustainability. And I just wanted to call this out because individual action sometimes gets a bad rap because systemic change led by large organizations and government is also essential. Like we saw on the last page, our local governments are prioritizing this. But 72% of global climate pollution can be traced to household consumption decisions. So that includes our transportation, food, how we eat, how we heat and cool our homes, and also electricity use. We aren't the producers of the pollution. That would be the fossil fuel companies, but we are the consumers of it. So for me, even though that's a large fact and a little scary, it's really empowering because it means that my individual action is not only a great way to feel more in control of the big, slightly overwhelming threats like climate change, but also it has a real impact. My individual action does have a real impact. And it also inspires the ripple effect into a more collective action. So when you walk the talk, your neighbors notice, your coworkers notice, and that's what the ripple effect really is. You can start individually, start at home, and then it's that much easier to bring those actions for sustainability into your work and into your broader community. All right, so on to talking about some of those actions that you can take. We'll begin with actions for the home in the categories of energy, food, and recycling. You may already be doing many of these things or more. So if you have your own tips as I'm going through this, feel free to share them in the comments. I'd love to see and hear what you all are doing as well. So first up, we've got energy, which is often called the low-hanging fruit of sustainability, because it really is an easy place to start. It reduces our reliance on fossil fuels and it saves money at the same time. The typical household can save up to 25% on your utility bill with energy efficiency measures, depending on where your starting point is. So the easy place to start is with just simple actions like turning off the lights and turning off electronics when you're not using them, or getting special smart power strips that will do that automatically for you. You can start drying your clothes on a clothing line instead of in the dryer, which is a huge energy user. So you save a lot by drying them naturally. You could set your thermostat lower when you're away from the home and during sleeping hours, which is really easy to program into smart thermostats if you've got one, or if you have the opportunity to get one. You can also weatherize your home, which can be as easy as putting a door sweep like you see in the picture there under a drafty door or window, and weather stripping, that's on the left there, around windows, around your doors, or even in outlets. And you can also get really involved with weatherizing, so like new insulation, new windows, that sort of thing, more efficient things installed in your house. And then installing alternatives that use less energy, like LED light bulbs, is another option. So Energy Star certified appliances, programmable thermostats like you see there. Those are some more steps that you can take. And also saving water saves energy, saves electricity. So installing a faucet aerator, like that little metal piece you see there on the screen, or like a low flow shower head or a low flow toilet, that all saves energy as well as water. And many of these items I mentioned can be bought at a discount through the Focus on Energy program, which is a free statewide program for residents in Wisconsin that you are already essentially paying for on your energy bill. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And then if you want to start taking some of these actions I've mentioned, I recommend looking at energy.gov's Energy Saver program. They've got a big website that can show you all the options and estimate like your savings. And there's a number of tutorials that can help you with things like installing that weather stripping. And of course, within energy, there's also renewables. So solar prices have come down significantly in the past 10 years, making it much more feasible for many people. And there's an online tool called Project Sunroof, which you see a screenshot from right there, which is a solar savings estimator, and it uses Google Earth's imagery to analyze your own roof on your home. And it also uses your roof shape, the local weather patterns to show you if solar is feasible on your house. And then also it can estimate some average cost savings that you can get and energy savings. And you can also get an in-person solar consultation from a local solar installer to learn more about the feasibility for you and your home. But if your home isn't able to get solar, or if you're not ready for that step for any reason, there's also the popular MG&E Shared Solar Program, which allows you to support local solar power on your energy bill without having to install those panels on your actual home. All right, so for more actions you can take at home, we've got minimizing food waste. This is a big topic because the average American wastes 1 pound of food per day, which is a lot. And if global food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest greenhouse gas emitter in the world. So it's a big issue. And some tips to help us reduce how much food waste we're using as individuals is meal planning, food storage, and food prep, which sounds simple, but they can get pretty involved if you want. So for meal planning, just try keeping a running list of meals that you make, meals that you like to make, and the ingredients they use, and then make your shopping list based on these meals. Everyone has their own way of figuring this out, but that's what I do. And it's as simple as trying to avoid buying food that you already have in your pantry and using what you have there. But using what you have before it goes bad can sometimes be difficult. So Getting to know the best ways to store different foods to help prolong their freshness is really useful. I have a little chart right on my fridge that has all that information for me, so I don't have to commit it to memory. It's just there. For example, one bad apple does spoil the bunch. This is because fruits and some vegetables, as they ripen, they emit a gas that accelerates ripening. So an overripe fruit will overripen the rest of your fruit. Or actually all the other food around it, it will often make spoil more quickly. And then finally, there's food prep. So you don't have to get very into it to make an impact. You don't have to like can or anything. What I've done, the easiest level, is just befriending my freezer. I slice and freeze bread so that it lasts longer, and then toast it when I need it. Lots of fruits can be frozen. More vegetables than I ever thought can be frozen, and it keeps them fresh longer. Herbs keeps them fresh longer. And then also, of course, if you don't think you'll use leftovers before they spoil, freezing them for a later date is helpful. And my one tip for freezing is label everything, because you're not going to remember. Even if you think that you will, you won't. So label everything and stick it in your freezer. There are also tons of ways you can revive food that just seems old. So I encourage you to check that out, look it up for all sorts of types of food. But my favorite tip for that is greens, which always seem to wilt very quickly in my fridge. They can be crisped back up after about 5 minutes in ice water, or even blended to make a pesto. There's lots of options for using wilted greens. All right. Also, minimizing food waste. You might still have some shelf-stable food that you aren't going to use before it spoils. So best practice for that shelf-stable stuff is to donate it to the folks that need it. So about 12% of people in Dane County are food insecure. And if you're interested in impacting this, you can check out the Dane County Food Pantry Network, which has a list of 50 food pantries, meal sites, and shelters that are accepting donations. And then if you've exhausted all those options, there's composting. So it's a great way to enrich garden soil for free. And the one takeaway that I'd like to leave you with about composting, I won't get into how to do it, but the one takeaway is it's much easier than you think. It doesn't have to be super complex. If you're using it for your garden, you might want to optimize the levels, carbon and nitrogen and the moisture levels. But if you're just using it to responsibly dispose of food waste, it can be really, really easy. So I'd encourage you to check out the resources from the UW Extension Master Composter class. If you just Google UW Extension Master Composter, you'll find those, and they're really useful. All right, so another action you can take at home is recycling. Many people think of recycling first when they think of what they can do for the environment, but recycling still has some environmental impact. So for all the stuff that we're bringing into our lives and want to dispose of, the other options on that list you see on your screen there, the pyramid, are really the more sustainable, more impactful options. So rethinking how we consume things and how we can refuse them. So don't buy them, reuse things that you already have, or repair things that you already have. Those should really come first, especially for materials like plastic that have many negative environmental impacts and are often not recyclable or not recycled. Only 9% of the plastic ever made has been fully recycled. So yeah, it has more of an impact to avoid those things. But metal, paper, and glass materials are really highly recyclable, most of them. And because we interact with them every day, it's still really important to learn how to recycle them properly. So my one really important takeaway about recycling is that it's always changing, and there are no national recycling guidelines. So Googling "is blank recyclable" is a coffee cup recyclable, for example, won't get you the answer that you're looking for on that. Always look to your local guidelines for the accurate info because it's managed locally. In Madison, we have something called the Recyclopedia. We're really lucky. It's a big document. That's the cover you see there, which is basically an encyclopedia of common recycling questions. And if you live elsewhere, I would encourage you just to look for your local municipality's website for a similar document. A few more recycling tips I can give you is to avoid wish cycling, which is recycling things just in case they're recyclable, because that actually is slowing down the process of recycling and can be potentially dangerous depending on what you put in there for the people that work at our recycling facilities. Some items that are commonly recycled when they shouldn't be, so some things that are wish cycled, are plastic bags and films, which are really any flexible plastics, because those gum up the systems, and the people that work at those recycling facilities have to like cut them out of the machines, and it can be dangerous. So don't recycle those things in your cart. Some of those things like plastic bags have other programs, like your local grocery store might take them, but they're not for the cart. And things like cords, like extension cords, string lights, hoses, those are tanglers. They tangle the machines at the recycling facility. So don't recycle those. And batteries are also not recyclable in your cart or your recycle bin, because they, some of them, certain types of batteries can start fires at the recycling facility. So those items, really important to keep out of your bin, and that will keep recycling safe and viable for the future. And if you want to learn more about this, we do have a master recycler course, and I'd encourage you to reach out to me to learn about how you can join that. All right, so next we have some actions that you can take for sustainability out in your community. First up, we've got trying alternative transportation. So according to census data, a total of 31% of city residents in Madison and 22% of Dane County residents used alternative transportation to get to work, while the rest drove alone. So there's an opportunity to grow the number of people that are using alternatives, and we really have a great city to do that. Alternatives like walking, biking, those of course have the lowest carbon impact and are low to no cost options to get started with. And then there's public transit, which is on average 6 times more fuel efficient than just driving alone. So, and we also have electric buses now, so that's an option. Additionally, carpooling, walking, biking, and transit, they provide physical and often mental health benefits for your commute. So a 2014 study found that people that use those alternatives have a greater sense of well-being than those that drive. And maybe that's because they're talking to their friends in the carpool, or getting some sunshine on the bike or on a walk. There's lots of co-benefits to those things. And of course, as this past year has revealed, like we're doing right now, many jobs can be remote. So that can replace the commute altogether. And our local climate action plan aims to reduce vehicle miles traveled in the county by 15% by 2050, which is equivalent to everyone in the county using one of these alternative transportation options or teleworking about twice a week. So it doesn't have to be all the time. You know, if you really like going into the office like I do, you can prioritize teleworking maybe 2 days a week, or riding your bike or something like that, if that's available to you. And then of course, for the people that prefer driving alone, electric vehicles are, the prices are falling and the public charging outlets are increasing every year, so they're becoming more accessible. Another action that you can take for sustainability in your community is to start some conversations with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. So meaningful conversations about sustainability or about whatever value you care about within sustainability help create that ripple effect of more people taking action on these concepts. So according to the Yale Climate Opinion Maps, 79% of adults in Dane County believe climate change is happening, 44% believe it will affect them personally, and only 35% discuss it occasionally. So given that we tend to trust our friends and family more than any other source, we can all start having more of these conversations about how climate change is happening. And we're already seeing the effects here in Dane County. So people in our region aren't going to take action until they believe it will affect us here or see that it already is with flooding and all the other examples. So being someone who's fluent in these conversations and comfortable talking to your coworkers or friends and family can really help move the movement forward and get more people involved. All right, so to close, I'll talk a little bit about how you can take those actions we've discussed and bring them into work. So energy, you can use energy efficiency and renewables, not only on your home, but of course on your work building. And you can start just doing that personally with turning off lights when you're not using them. Simple actions like that do make a difference. Food waste in the office can be managed with composting. You can do it yourself on site or through a service like Curbside Composter is a local service. You can also source food locally for your break rooms, for your events. If you have them, you can become a workplace CSA site, which is community supported agriculture. So your employees and other local people can have better access to local food. And you can start, you can even go as far as starting a community garden at your office. And there are a number of local programs that can help you start those. Then for recycling at work, my main recommendation is to improve signage with items that are frequently disposed of at your office and to educate employees on what is and isn't recyclable in your area. You can send them to the Master Recycler course or go yourself and relay the information to them. And then alternative transportation, so many options here, but a few tips are to incentivize employees to drive less, educate them on the programs that are available in our region that make that easier for them. So there's like a carpooling program, a program that gives you a free ride home if you're in an emergency and you can't ride your bike or walk home. You can also install bike racks, install showers for bike commuters. EV charging stations are becoming more popular to install. And you can even, if you have a parking lot, manage your parking lot with limits on parking passes or charging daily parking fees. And daily is important because then people can kind of be flexible with it. They can drive some days, they can bike some days. And of course, for companies that have fleet vehicles, converting the fleet to electric is another option. And then finally, you can, of course, take that starting conversations idea into work as well with employee educational opportunities like this one or like a number of our other programs at Sustain Dane. And of course, the most impactful way to improve sustainability at work is to work together. So starting a green team or a sustainability committee with other passionate people on this subject at work is really effective, and we can help you do that at Sustain Dane. And my final recommendation is a plug for the work we do. Come to our educational opportunities, develop your expertise so you can be a source of local sustainability knowledge at your organization. We have workshops, speaker series, networking opportunities. You can meet with other sustainability professionals and talk with them. And we also have an annual conference that the save the date is coming up tomorrow. So that'll be November 18th this year. All right, so that's it for my presentation today. Thanks for your attention, and do follow us on social media at Sustain Dane. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website, sustaindane.org, and feel free to reach out to me, Lorenza, at sustaindane.org. I welcome all your questions about our work and any of the topics I covered today.
Fantastic. Okay, we definitely had a couple questions. One is from Stephanie, and her question was, in what ways does food waste contribute to greenhouse gases?
Yeah, in many ways. So the way I talked about it here, like food waste in the home, what you dispose of contributes because, well, it depends on where it goes, but there's less of an impact if it goes to compost. And then if it goes to the landfill, as these foods decompose, they emit greenhouse gases. Yeah, and if they're composted, at least they're going to something that has a purpose often. So they're going to feed your garden. But then there's, at every stage of the food system, there's greenhouse gases. So even as early as the seeds, that has a carbon impact if it's wasted. On the farms, if a lot of that food doesn't make it to the stores even, and that has a carbon impact as it decomposes. And then of course, transportation to get those foods from where they're produced to where we can buy them is huge. So that's why local food is a great option, because it reduces the travel time that it takes to get to our plate.
Okay. Another question we had was from Maggie, and her question was, what is your favorite sustainable practice you take in your life?
Yeah, my favorite thing, it's hard to pick a favorite, but thank you, Maggie, for the question. I think it's probably biking instead of driving. I really don't love driving. It causes stress in my life, and so I'm lucky that I've picked a place that is close to my office, and I can bike to work or walk. And it really is just a nice way to break up the day. It improves my mood like exponentially. I can be super grouchy before I get on my bike, and then just the short bike ride to work can really cheer me up. So yeah, that's my favorite.
That's a good one. And actually, I recently heard this tip about food scraps, is that it's really easy to make your own vegetable stock. So like saving those food scraps in the freezer, and then when you have a big bag, boiling them to make your own veggie stock is something that I've recently been trying out. So that might be a good tip too for anyone looking for something to try. Another question we had was, do you have any suggestions on starting these conversations about climate change?
Yeah, I would say the biggest tip is to listen to whoever you're talking to, kind of bring it up and then see what they think about it, because that can really inform how you have this conversation. Because we're in an area where 79% of folks in Dane County do believe that climate change is happening, you'll be likely met with someone that kind of gets it, at least on that level. And then to bridge that disconnect from the people that believe it will affect them, you can tell a personal story about how it has affected you. For example, for me, I've got a number of stories to pick from, but one of them is my family goes up to a cabin up north every year, and just hearing from my aunts and uncles and my grandparents when they were living about the different animals and plant life and insects that used to exist there that no longer do because of agriculture and land use management. And so sustainability generally, those are no longer there, certain things. And Yeah, that's one of my personal experiences. But locally, you might have experienced floods, and you could connect that to how climate change is causing more frequent extreme weather events. Um, yeah, it's a good thing to take a moment to think about your own personal story, because that's really what tends to connect with other people.
Okay. And it looks like we have time for one more question. So our last question is kind of around, I think when you think about sustainability as a big picture, it can be really overwhelming. And there's lots of ways to get started. Do you have any recommendations on how to find something that might work for you?
Can you say that again? You cut out just a little bit.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sustainability is kind of like this huge thing, and there's a lot of ways to get started, but sometimes the overwhelming options can be really hard to choose from. Do you have any suggestions on how to get started for someone who might not know where to start?
I would say just find what feels right, what feels easy for you, what's fun. So for me, a long time ago, I was really into cooking, and that's kind of where it all started. In the kitchen, I started canning things, and I do that less now because it took a lot of time, but that was what was fun at the time. That's what gave me joy and was also helping impact food waste. So yeah, find what feels right. Maybe it's your commute. Maybe you really like optimizing the energy efficiency in your home and saving money on your electric bill. Yeah, it's different for everyone.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lorenza and Sustain Dane, for doing this event with us and taking time out of your busy lives to join us and share a bit more about sustainability. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who tuned in with us today, wrote in your questions. We always appreciate what you have to share. So thank you so much for joining us. And I think that's pretty much it for today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.